Hey everybody, welcome back to Movie Mayhem, a show where we talk about movies and news and, well, everything else under the sun. I'm Donnie Shields, and join me today again is my co-host Chase Morgan Hewlett. Chase, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing well. How are you, Donnie?
Not too bad. So, Chase, last episode we had talked about a trade-off slash switch. Did you watch Ahsoka?
I did not get a chance to watch Ahsoka.
You didn't watch Ahsoka. So
I
I held up
failed.
my end of the deal and I actually watched two episodes of One Piece.
Huh.
Were they
Two
just
ep-
today? Were they just today? Yes, absolutely. The clown character was interesting. It freaked me out, but
Buggy?
Buggy here nor there. I'm still learning names, so that's one of the things. Obviously, I knew Zoro because my buddy who I play Rocket League with, his like online name is Zoro, based after One Piece, the show. So like I knew who Zoro was beforehand. I'm still learning characters' names because I feel like they don't do a good job of like explaining who each character is like by name through the first episode. Second episode, you start to get some names.
Yeah, and well, Luffy, because he introduces himself and he says he'll be the Pirate King, King of the Pirates. Um, but yeah, and it's also, people know these characters who are a big fan, but I think you get to know them the more you watch. But also this is kind of, because One Piece is such a big show, the anime, that this series and kind of what I like that it does is it kind of shrinks it to where you can still enjoy the story. And then if you want more, you go into like the anime, you can kind of watch like the, extended edition, I guess you could call it. And but I watched all 8 episodes with my fiance. And then we went upstairs to watch it with my mother. And we're actually on episode 3 right now. So I'm watching it again.
I mean, it's definitely rewatchable from what I at least see so far through the first two episodes. Again, this is somebody that never saw One Piece, the anime. So I'm just going to speak as the outside, not knowing the source material. Um, but I do have to say, and again, this could be misleading because I know this wasn't a great film. I know it didn't make money in the box office, but I'm a big Peter Pan fan. And this kind of had that reminiscent of Pan, that movie with Hugh Jackman. There
Yeah.
was a lot of quick, upbeat tones, and like there was some good comical, comedic moments, as well as just kind of acting like a kid at heart almost. It's almost like the story that you would kind of picture in your head as a kid, whether you were playing with action figures or whether you were writing your own scripts as a kid, like your own like books and stuff like that. So I thought that was enjoyable.
Yeah, I like Luffy as a character. I love the confidence and the positivity that he has. It is, I want to say the word inspiring, but it is. Like you watch all these shows that are kind of dark, but this one is just a happy, fun show about pirates. And it's funny because if you don't know One Piece or anything about it, when you watch in the beginning and you find out that he's rubber and his arm stretches out and then comes back, you're like, what the world is going on in this show? And it's just kind of that fun humor. It's funny, it's touching, and it has all those elements. And I love the characters, but I like how, he's saying, "Hey, you're on my crew," and they're like, "No, no, we're not on your crew." And he's like, "You'd be good on my crew," and he's just like gathering his troops and whatnot. Um, but yeah, the confidence that Luffy has, excuse me, is just awesome. I just love to see it. And the anime, it was the same way. The anime is really fun to watch. And one thing you need to know, Dottie, as you continue watching it, because I'm positive you're going to at least continue watching it, is there are going to be shots that look off, but they work well in the show because it's an anime. So they still bring that anime style when it comes to filming. And that's when it's really close up and looking up at them. That's a very like, because you got to think anime is art. So they draw these on the manga. And the show actually brought in shots that I don't know if they're directly from the original anime or not, but I do know that they are shots that you see in other anime shows. And so they brought it into the live action. And I thought they did that very well. And I don't know if there's any in the first few episodes, but as you go on and see more fights, you'll see that. And it's pretty cool.
we're a little bit late to the party in essence of saying this, but spoiler warnings for anybody that wants to know anything in the first 2 episodes at least that we will be covering. Um, what do you have to say? The stretchiness actually got me. So that was something where I was vibing throughout the whole process of like, okay, I'm enjoying this, and then the stretching happened. I guess to me the most jarring thing was everybody else in the universe in which they're in their own universe was normal at that point in time. You didn't see anything like that was weird or different. So even the stretchiness still gets me even through episode 3 right now. But the only thing that I guess makes it seem more normal now is that you see that the clown character, the clown pirate, has the ability to also be cut in half and disassemble. So once I saw that, I guess I was like, okay, he's not the only one in this universe that can just have superpowers or like whatever you would call that.
They eat the fruit.
Yeah, the devil's fruit, right? Or something like that.
Yeah, the devil's fruit. I think Luffy ate the gum fruit, and Buggy ate the chop fruit. So he can be in pieces. So there's different fruits. So it's cool to see that universe and see that type of idea get brought out. And I have to ask you, what is your favorite scene out of the first 2 episodes you watched? Like, what did you enjoy the most, I guess?
I enjoyed the entrance of Luffy. Very Captain Jack Sparrow-esque when he's in the boat. Although he breaks the fourth wall, which I was like, okay, so it's gonna be this kind of show. So he breaks the fourth wall, he talks to the audience straight up. The ship's sinking. I like the idea of him hiding in a barrel, going days or whatever, gets captured. I was not fooled by the woman whose name I forget, a part of the crew now. She faked like she was abducted by pirates, and then she jumped on the ship and left the other pirates out on sea. I kind of knew that was coming. I was like, something seems a little bit off here. So I felt that one. I don't really have a favorite scene thus far. I do have to say that the evil characters, again, my names are not there yet, so I apologize. But I think that everyone, whether it was I'm going to call him the king that had the first pirate executed on screen. I don't know if King's the right title for it. But the
Garp.
ruler, who
Garp
could be.
Is he the vice admiral of the Marines?
Yeah, he's like the yeah.
Garp. Yeah.
But they casted those, and I've never seen those actors before, but they casted the villains and the head honchos really well. Like those are the ones that you almost wish that Star Wars would have casted to actually be like Imperial troops, because they actually have a menacing factor to them. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, they did cast very well. I was going to mention it you like the scene where he's in the barrel and he's floating. When you first watch the anime, you don't see the beginning of him. Like when you first watch episode 1, you don't see him in the boat. You start off on the battle and whatnot, and then the barrel comes on and they just load it up, and then he pops out. So you don't see that beginning stuff. So it's kind of cool to see kind of the beginning of how he got in there and whatnot.
And it's a good add too. I don't think it takes away from it. I think it just adds to the whole arc itself.
Yeah, he's just a happy go get him character. Follow your dream. He's all about following the dream. And when I was watching it, I was thinking, man, I need Luffy in my life every now and then. I think we all need him to hang out with us every now and then. But I really love the scene where it's him and Zoro and Nami. Nami's her name, by the way. When they're fighting in the yard at the Marine base, and then he uses 3 swords. Because Luffy's like, why is it 3 swords? I don't. What's the third sword do? And then he puts it in his teeth, and that's such a cool scene. That's so cool that he does that. And the fighting choreography in this show is actually really good. Like it doesn't look fake. It doesn't look even when that scene when Luffy was a kid and the crew that he hung out with as a kid were fighting, and the guy was beating the other guy with the chicken bone. Like all that was filmed really well. Like they did a good job, and then bringing in that anime element as well. So they did a really good job with that.
No, and I've been impressed with everything so far, and it's almost like, again, I don't know, it felt very much anime, the fighting style, even where they would cut to certain shots that were just like, oh, you can picture this being an animation.
Mhm.
And I thought that's always cool. Like, what was it? There was a group of actors that came together to make a Nathan Drake Uncharted film that I've watched on YouTube multiple times. I don't know if I ever sent it to you.
Mm-mm.
But when the guy dives out the window, it actually the lower thirds leave, and then it does like that video game where he starts walking slow, and then like he ducks around the corner, and like and it takes you back to that like Uncharted video game. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, okay, I can see a lot of these shots in One Piece being very much so like the anime itself.
Yeah, yeah. But I would if I were you, when you finish the show, I'd watch at least one episode of the anime. The one thing that the live action show doesn't really have that and it has it, but it is the music. Like the the theme song of One Piece is so catchy, and the music in the anime is so good and catchy that, excuse me, that I wish that they would have involved it in the show a little bit. It was the only thing I was wishing. There's a certain like song that plays. I don't know if it plays in every episode, but it's when like a bad guy comes and it goes dun 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 dun, dun. Like it goes like that. And I don't know, it's so catchy to me. But they didn't have that in the show. That was one thing I was hoping they would have, because honestly, while I was watching, I was like, okay, I'm waiting for this music to come on, but it never did. And the theme song never did come on. I think until the very end, they have like a musical score that kind of resembles or matches with what the theme sounded like. So go listen to the theme. It's really catchy and fun. And it's kind of cool to see like, comparing them, saying like, oh, okay, the ship looks like this in the anime. This is what it looks like. And you can kind of see close how they really made it accurate as possible. But the author of the manga, he was working close with the show. So that gives me some high hopes. And honestly, there's going to be fans of the anime that aren't going to like the live action. Just like you and me are not going to like episode 7, 8, 9 of Star Wars. We're just not going to like it because we're so used to Darth Vader and Anakin and whatnot. And we're just not going to like it no matter what. Rey would never be a Skywalker. Like she'll never level up to it. And some people are going to be like that with One Piece. But I think for me and you, because I don't watch the anime that much, but I rarely do it at all. I've watched some of it before, but I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan. I'm becoming one because this live action was like so easy to watch. And I'm like, okay, now that I know where it's leading, I kind of want to watch more. And for you who's never seen it or don't like anime, I think it's a good way to start into watching something like that.
I mean, my goal was to watch the first episode of the live action and then watch the first episode of anime. My issue is I didn't know then if the first episode was going to tell what I just watched. So then I decided against it because I was like, okay, maybe this happens on like episode 15, but I don't know it. One of those things. So I'm like, I have no idea what episode I've had to watch to counteract. But now that you said that, it makes sense. Um,
So let me just spoil the episode 1 of the anime for you. The ending of episode 1 is when him and Kobe are leaving the ship, that lady's ship. It's them leaving on that little sailor boat they had. That's the ending of the episode. So you can imagine that whole episode was, and it was only like 24 minutes long. So it's not long. That whole 20 minutes was like maybe 3 minutes of the live action.
you can tell when something's created with heart, though. And I feel like this One Piece was created with heart and created with a fan in mind. The same thing I can say about Rogue One. I feel like Rogue One for Star Wars was. That's like the only good Star Wars film that came out of the Disney trilogy right there, because like you could tell like there was fans that were involved in that. I think when it came to the Mario movie now, you could tell that fans were clearly involved in the Mario film. And to me, it's just like I do appreciate that. And I think that you can see it regardless of, say you're a diehard fan, but you might not like it. Like I know a lot of people that actually grew up reading the Hunger Games books. And then when the live action films came out, they're like, well, it's great, but it's not like the book. But they understand that, like, hey, at least there's like some good qualities of this movie. And I can see that through One Piece.
Yeah, well, like Hunger Games, it was a lot like the book. It was because we had to read that book in high school, and then it came out, and we actually had to go to the movies to watch it. And um, the only time in high school I went to the movies for school, but yeah, and when you have a big fan base and you follow the material, it's really nice. It's the same with like Lord of the Rings or whatnot. If you just follow the original material, it brings people like the fans together. But then you have stories or movies or whatnot that they take a hard left on, and it's like nothing like the book or whatever. And then people are kind of split up. And so bound to happen. But yeah, I think you're right. I think One Piece has a lot of people that are working on it that love the anime and want and respect it. And the author, I think it's the author of the manga, like I said before, is a part of the show too and helping out. So that's good.
So I don't want to spend the whole episode talking about One Piece, so I do have something else to talk about.
Right.
The Shift. Have you ever heard the film The Shift? It is by Angel Studios, which they had just announced
Oh,
it today. It's coming out
oh,
December 1st. And actually, as we're recording this live, everybody, well, as we're recording this live currently is Angel Studios giving their presentation of films to come. So it's kind of like their Comic-Con ish tonight. They were live on Instagram and live on angelstudios.com. So The Shift, and I find this very interesting because for people that don't realize or don't know who Angel Studios is, I'm sure you've heard of the success of The Sound of Freedom. A lot of people will know that name. And Angel Studios is credited with the success, even though, you know, it was a prior Disney production that got transferred over to Angel Studios. But Angel Studios brought this to life, made nearly, I believe it was like $500-600 million without even getting an overseas debut. So we'll see where that goes. But yes, The Shift is coming out December 1st. Chase, I know that this got thrown on you, so I don't expect you to get a reaction to The Shift. But as far as Angel Studios, I know that you're a fan.
yeah, it's nice to see a company or a production company like that that kind of started from just donations to be growing this big, and The Chosen really helped them grow up to that. And you get a lot, the times that we're dealing with right now, there's a lot of people coming together when it comes to stuff like this, and they're actually wanting more shows that are, for a family to watch. And so I think Angel Studios is really hitting that family friendly entertainment, which is helping them grow even more because that's what people want. But Hollywood seems to have violence and sex and cussing and all this stuff in movies. They think that sells, and it does, sell. But I think that Angel Studio is really hitting that good point. But I don't know. I saw the shift. I know that Samwise Gamgee's in it. I know that Sean Astin, I think is his name. I know he's in it. And I think Angel Studios got a really good opportunity to keep on growing. And it seems like, now I don't know, but it seems like they're kind of steering away from like faith-based films. Well, not faith-based, but more not as coming from the actual Bible. Like they're kind of expanding to like, okay, this is a faith-based film. It's not about Jesus. It's just a film that has like God in it and whatnot, and like that faith in it. And I think that's kind of nice. I think people like you and me, that's kind of what we like to do when it comes to films, is we like to involve some type of faith in it. We don't want to hammer it into people, but we want to, have it acknowledged at least. So,
and that's something where I can see, and we've talked about this, I think Shield of Hope is more like this in essence, because even if I don't have scripture in my films, there should at least be a moralistic plot to it. And something that everybody at the end of the day can like sit down, see with the family, see with friends, and it tells a good story. And that's all that I could ever ask for. And I feel like you're right. Angel Studios, with some of the things that they're announcing, are going down that road. I don't expect there to be scripture in the shift, although there could be. I have no idea. But what I thought was fascinating, you were talking about you don't need the sex, violence, drugs, and all that in certain films. Because I recognized somebody in the poster, actor Neil McDonough. And the first thing
yeah,
that came up when I looked up his IMDb, as far as like, typed in the interwebs of Google and his name, was why was Neil McDonough blackballed from Hollywood? And I'm going to read this real quick because I thought this was a fascinating thing. Actor Neil McDonough has found major success in Hollywood, but the actor still remembers a time when he was blacklisted from his faith, or for his faith, I should say. In 2010, he was fired from the show Scoundrels after refusing to film any sex scenes. The show only ran for one season, but he was still blacklisted from the industry for a few years. which is fascinating. Out of all the things that we can have that get us canceled these days, it's interesting that that was the thing back then, that like he didn't want to do that or didn't feel comfortable, and he got basically canceled. So it's interesting. But you know, but what's really interesting is that's what's great about all these small budget studios and all these independent studios that are popping up, because you're going to take a chance on these actors that didn't really fit into the Hollywood spectrum, that still have this amazing talent, and they're going to run with it onto the platform and still make these great films.
All right, so this is proof that you don't need Hollywood, you don't need California to make movies. I mean, the creator of Letterkenny, which is on Hulu, which is kind of a mockumentary type show. I don't know if you've seen it. I think I've showed you it before. But anyway, he went to Hollywood trying to make it, and it did not work, and they did not like him. So he just went back to his hometown, and now he has Letterkenny and Shoresy as shows, and they're really funny, and he's doing okay. So I didn't know that about Neil McDonough. You got me saying it wrong because I knew it before. He's in the movie Walking Tall with The Rock.
Okay.
He's the bad guy in that movie. So that's where I recognize him from. And
like I said, he's a familiar face throughout the industry for sure. But like I said, it's fascinating because he was the first person that stuck out in that photo for me. And then, of course, reading the backstory online. Anyways, continue. I'm sorry.
And yeah, but yeah, all I was saying is you just don't need Hollywood nowadays. I mean, back then it was you kind of had to, like the golden age, which we review, you kind of had to be in that place and in that studio because it was starting up. But now with the technology we have and these streaming services and all these smaller companies like A24, you can kind of go anywhere and be on a film. And that actually is really nice, especially for people like you and me that, this is making movies is kind of a hobby right now. I mean, it might bring income at times, but not enough to pay for a house and whatnot. But to have these different avenues that we can take to get there, we might never, you and me, we might never be in actual Hollywood, filming at Warner Brothers, but we might be filming something in Montana or PA that is just as good or even better. And that's the nice thing about it right now for us.
Chase, what do I always tell you? Don't go to Hollywood, bring Hollywood to you.
Yep, it's a poster on my wall.
Well, I wouldn't say that, but maybe it's tattooed somewhere. I have no idea. So, Chase, I know that we were talking about our own production companies and our dreams and all of that's going on right now specifically for freelancers and for people that, might be doing this as a hobby. Well, folks, in case you didn't watch my own personal Instagram or my Facebook, we have a teaser from our first film here at Vigilante Pictures coming out October 1st. So I want you guys to check this scene out.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Have no fear. The monster's gone. He's on the run.
So Chase, thank you for joining me on another Movie Mayhem. Chase, where can people find you at?
On Instagram, you can follow me at Chase Morgan Hewlett. And Donnie and I also have a podcast called The Golden Review. It's also on Instagram at The Golden Review.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Movie Mayhem. You can catch us, what we try to do every Mondays, but sometimes it scatters throughout the week. Thank you guys for watching. If you like what you're watching, please subscribe to our channel. Please subscribe to Chase's channel, which, by the way, do you want to shout that out real quick on YouTube?
True Light Pictures. Go look it up, subscribe. We put our first movie out there, and our second movie is going to come out soon. So go watch, please.
And that film is called A Soldier's Blessing, which I think that you will be blessed by this film as well. Good pitch. Thank you guys for joining us. It has been Movie Mayhem.